Here's Nicky Henderson. I think that's 11 Wayward Lads for you, Nicky. You've won it with all the big ones, going back from Remittance Man to Shishkin most recently. So you're the master of the 2 mile chaser. You're in the perfect position to tell us what you made of that performance.
You'd have to go a long way to see anything. I just think the way he did it was frightening, to be honest with you, because he was just, I think he learnt over the first couple of fences and then said, right, let's go. And I don't think Nico could, that wasn't the plan at all. We didn't expect him. We thought we'd have to sit on his tail and wait until the straight and have a crack, but he was just too exuberant and he was having fun, wasn't he? Nico was.
Well, Nico's first words to Marie Donnelly was, "This is a superstar."
Well, it's nice if he thinks that. He's got a long way to go so far. He's unblemished. He's done nothing wrong in his whole life. But he's always been a very, very talented horse, and he has so much scope. And that's why we thought it. I mean, really, this is nothing to do with Constitution Hill or anything. I mean, but luckily it has told us who goes where. I say, if he hadn't done that today, then we could have always come back into the hurdling game. But now he's lost his maiden over fences. He certainly can't do that because we've got to make the use of the allowance. It's always useful, that allowance. But I think it's pretty obvious where we're going.
Champion hurdlers have won this race, of course. Go back to Celtic Shot, who won this. He brings that class in as a absolute top-notch hurdler, as well as, of course, having that scope.
Yeah, I mean, he's a genuine 2 miler. You wouldn't think about 2.5, as you can see. I don't think you'd hold him over 2.5. He'd be gone with you. So it's great to see it. It was pretty good.
And Nicky, as I said beforehand, I felt you were a bit more cagey than you have been, because in all the conversations we've had about Sir Gino and Constitution Hill and what they're going to do, there's been a twinkle in your eye, a little wink at the end of each conversation said, you should see what this guy does at home.
Well, you're always going to underplay it at the last moment because we all get a bit nervous about it. You don't want to overhype it, but he had to, he was there to do the talking today, and I think he told you.
Do you want more experience, though? Experience is key in this game before Cheltenham?
He can't go straight there on that. No, he's got to run again, yeah, sure. I mean, he's one of... Yeah, we'll find somewhere... I hope we'll find somewhere to go. I don't know whether the Kingmaker or something like that would be the right place to be. But he wants to get a little bit more experience, yeah.
Obviously, I'm trying to pry the headline out of you, Nicky, but with all those great horses that you won this race with, you're obviously not going to say he's the best or whatever, but is he right in the mix, right up there?
You'd be, they've been winning this race in the Desert Orchid over the years, and it's always been, I love Kempton. It's the perfect place for novice chasers. It's a great track. You couldn't have a better track to introduce horses on. Now they've got to go and learn about Cheltenhams or Ascots and things like that, which are a different ball game. But, you couldn't see a cleaner performance than that, and let's hope he grows into those big shoes.
Great 48 hours for 7 Barrows. Well done.
Thanks, Matt, very much.
My word, he delivered.
He did deliver, and it was the sort of performance that you wanted to see. We said it would set the pulses racing. Well, if your pulse doesn't race a little bit faster with that, but I tell you what, the mistake that Ballyburn made at the last, he did really well to stand up because he literally landed on top of the fence. But he was toiling in Sir Gino's wake. He was in receipt of an age allowance because he's only a 4-year-old from a horse like Ballyburn. But from the middle part of the race, if you were backing Sir Gino, you were confident.
Good, wasn't it?
He's really good.
And I wonder if he might go Game Spirit Arkle. He's an even money favourite for the Arkle for what it's worth right now, and you'd imagine Ballyburn would step up in trip.
You'd have thought so on what we saw there. He certainly looked like he wanted 2.5 when he ran first time over fences, Ballyburn. But the Kingmaker is the obvious choice. If he doesn't want to do that, well then there is races like the Game Spirit at Newbury.
Well, Ed, I was just saying to Nico the comment that Mick Fitzgerald made that we weren't sure if Sir Gino was expecting a fence when he got to the first. It looked like it just took him a second to warm up.
Yeah, Paul really sort of set his stall out going to the first, and he's probably travelling, a stride quicker than he's ever would have gone over fences, particularly at home. I wouldn't stall that quick. And but to be fair, he's warmed up to it, and he's so quick through the air. He's very quick back on his back landing and back on his feet that he doesn't waste any time in the air. So I wasn't going to keep pulling him back because he was just jumping me there.
He's only a 4-year-old. I said it walking around the ring before. It's hard to believe he took it all in his stride. He just walks around the place like he's been everywhere before. And to then go out and put up a performance like that on a chasing debut must be pretty exciting being on board.
It's fantastic. You know, he's so professional. We know he's got the engine there. And today it was just a case of whether he could do what he showed us schooling and do what he did jumping in public. So, look, he's a very sort of robust horse and he's an absolute monster. So. Thank you. So delighted with him and delighted with everyone. You know, we've had a few chops and changes as to the programme book, but you're very limited as to where you can go.
Well done, Nico. Enjoy it.
Obviously, you go back in time to, you know, the See You Thens, the Remittance Mans, etc. Sprinter Sack, Altior. Sir Gino's chasing debut. Now, I'm not saying he's up there yet with those horses, but is that the sort of performance that makes you think we might be seeing another Sprinter Sacre? I know it's early days. He's only had one run over fences. My goodness, am I getting too carried away?
I think at this stage he's got to go and do it. But that was as chase starts go. Look, I suppose the strength and depth that he's got, that you're looking back to the days, the early 70s when he worked for Fred Winter and they had the likes of Bueller, Pendle, Killenny. You know, when you talk about Sir Gino,
when he's
John
got that
Bond,
sort of enthusiasm, you can't dent it.
Constitution Hill, what strength and
The
depth.
Christmas
what
Grinch.
Extraordinary.
Tom Scudamore, the Christmas Grinch. Fitzy, come on, he's the next sprinter, isn't he?
Look, I hope so. What I've seen him on the schooling ground and what we'd seen on the schooling ground, everybody was screaming fences, fences, fences. And even after he'd won the Fighting Fifth, we were still screaming fences, fences, fences. And now you know why.